are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this presentation, Every Child in Focus Leadership Series, engaging Hispanic families in schools, PTA, and community to support student success. I hope everyone's having a good day and keeping warm. Before we begin, I'd like to go over the functionality of the GoToWebinar. Right now, everyone is on mute to avoid background noises and that may distract you from listening to the webinar. Throughout the presentation, you can enter your questions and comments in the question box located on the right side of your screen. We will have a Q&A at the end. Well, my little clicker doesn't seem to be clicking. Sorry about that. Okay, let's continue. Again, good evening. I'm Elida Perez-Knapp. I'll be facilitating the webinar. We are happy to present this event as part of the Every Child in Focus campaign, which aims to celebrate the many perspectives of families across the country, while also educating and mobilizing PTA leaders, educators, and community organizers to eliminate barriers to learning for all students. This year, National PTA answered the call for a commitment to action to the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. As part of our commitment, we pledge to make meaningful contributions that increase and support educational outcomes for Latino Hispanics. That's why we've partnered with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation to bring you this important information. 3 of our speakers represent programs that partner with National PTA in collaboration and outreach to Latino families. Their complete bios are part of the handouts for this webinar. We are happy to have you with us this evening. Lisa Mack is the immediate past state president of Ohio PTA. Guadalupe Cuesta, the director of the National Migrant Seasonal Head Start Collaboration Office. Isabel Sanz is the Parent School Partnership Director for the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund in Atlanta. And Jose Antonio Tijerino is the president and CEO of the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Welcome again. Our objectives for this educational event are to provide an overview and use of the National PTA Standards to connect to Hispanic families, to hear from 3 programs that successfully connect to and engage Hispanic families, to learn how they engage and empower families to advocate for their children's education, and we will highlight the Hispanic Heritage Foundation student leadership programs. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. I now turn it over to our first speaker, Lisa.
Okay, I'm Lisa Mack, immediate past president of Ohio PTA. I also serve on the National PTA Diversity, Inclusion, and Outreach Committee and am very passionate about family engagement and how important it is to student success. We'd like to begin with discussion on how important family engagement and involvement are to student achievement and share a powerful tool for engaging all families. National PTA continues to strengthen the importance of family engagement when collaborating with 2 researchers and longtime National PTA friends, Ann Henderson and Karen Mapp. In their 2002 study, A New Wave of Evidence, The Impact of School, Family, and Community Connections on Student Achievement, they found that evidence clearly supports that when families are involved at home and at school, children do better in school. Students with involved parents are more likely to earn higher grades and test scores, be promoted, pass their classes and earn credits, attend school regularly, have better social skills, showed improved behavior and adapt well to school, graduate, and go on to post-secondary education. But important note to mention here is that this is true no matter what the family income or background may be. At the core of who we are, the one thing we can say that we are absolutely the experts on is family engagement. That's one of the strengths we bring to every partnership. In 1997, National PTA convened the many different stakeholders whom we represent to develop the national standards for family-school partnerships, which for the first time articulated what family engagement should look like at the school level. In 2001, National PTA updated the standards, and now these are in use by school, PTA, and community leaders nationwide as a framework for thinking about structuring and assessing family engagement. The standards are, number 1, welcoming all families into the school community, 2, communicating effectively, 3, supporting student success, Standard 4 is speaking up for every child, 5, sharing power, 6, collaborating with community. The first standard is welcoming all families into the school community. If families feel welcome, they become active participants in the life of the school. They feel valued and connected to each other, to school staff, and to what students are learning and doing in class. One goal under this standard is to create a welcoming, family-friendly climate where personal relationships can grow and families feel there are many opportunities to be involved. We also want to build a respectful, inclusive community where all families feel respected and there are no obstacles to their participation. They feel that the information and activities provided are accessible and relevant to their students' growth. They feel they can actively participate in the school community. As you think about your school or schools in your district, consider these questions. How welcoming is the school environment? Are there welcome signs inside and outside the school? Is office staff friendly? Are relationships between families and teachers strong? Under Standard 2, communicating effectively, families and school staff engage in regular two-way, meaningful communication about student learning. To achieve our goal of sharing information between school and families, it will be important to use multiple communication paths, survey families to identify issues and concerns, have access to the principal, provide information on current issues, and facilitate connections among families. All families should feel that the school keeps them informed on important issues and that it's easy to communicate with teachers, the principal, and the other staff. Creating a perception that a dominant group of parents is in the know while everyone else is in the dark reduces trust and stifles the free flow of ideas. When Standard 3, supporting student success, is achieved, families and school staff continuously collaborate to support students' learning and healthy development both at home and at school. Families feel well prepared and comfortable to enhance the instruction and social and emotional learning that occurs during in-school and after-school lessons. We talk about two primary goals with this standard. The first is sharing information about student progress. Once again, this is a two-way dialogue between family and school. Teachers and school leaders should help families access and understand their students' work and test results in comparison to academic standards. Families also need to understand the overall school progress. Families need to feel comfortable sharing what barriers the child may have to learning, concerns about homework, test taking, or social or emotional development. The second goal in supporting student success is to engage families in classroom learning, empowering them with the information they need to strengthen learning at home, and promoting the opportunities for after-school learning or social and emotional development. In Standard 4, we grow families from advocates for their own children to advocates for all children. PTA and a school partner provide families with the information they need to ensure that students are treated fairly and have access to learning opportunities that will support their success. Parents must know how the local school and district operate and how to raise questions or concerns about school and district programs, policies, and activities. They must also understand their rights and responsibilities under federal, state, and local laws and policies. Standard 5, sharing power means that families and school staff are equal partners in decisions that affect children and families and together inform, influence, and create policies, practices, and programs. This is often one of the hardest standards to achieve. With this standard, we focus on two goals. First, to strengthen the family voice in school decision making, and second, to build family, social, and political connections. PTA advocates on behalf of all families in the school community. That's why it is so important that our voice represents the diverse perspectives of families that make up the school community. Families must be full partners in making decisions on issues affecting their children both at school and within the community. When you think about the strength of the family voice in your school, consider these things. Do families have a vote when decisions that touch their children are being made? What governance exists to discuss issues of equity, such as which children are eligible for the gifted program? In what ways do the school and PTA connect families to local officials? How do you make sure that PTA truly represents all families in both PTA membership and its leadership? How do you gain feedback from families throughout the year? The final standard focuses on bringing families and schools together in collaboration with others in the community that offer expanded learning opportunities, community services, and civic participation. Our goal is to connect the school with community resources. And how can we achieve that? We can be a link to community resources. We can organize support from community partners, turn the school into a hub of the community, partner with community groups to strengthen families and support student success. Parent and school leaders should work closely with neighborhood associations, government agencies, businesses, and universities to strengthen the school. These collaborations should make resources available to students, school staff, and families and build a family-friendly community. As you think about your schools or schools in your district, consider these questions. Are the families aware of resources in the community that link to learning? Are students organized to provide a service to the community? Is the community engaged in supporting learning through such opportunities as service learning and internships? Are community members included in planning and implementing programs and policies? What is the community's perception of our school? That's an overview of the national standards. Now let's hear from our guest speakers and learn about their programs and how they can engage Hispanic and Latino families. Our next presenter is Guadalupe Cuesto, Director of the National Migrant and Seasonal Head Start Collaboration Office. Guadalupe?
Thank you, Lisa. My name is Guadalupe Cuesta, and I'm the Director of the National Migrant and Seasonal Head Start Collaboration Office based in Washington, D.C. I'm very glad to be able to join you today to share a little bit about migrant and seasonal Head Start programs and to provide you with some ideas, if not additional information about our programs and the families we serve. I'm excited about the collaboration between Migrant and Seasonal Head Start and the Parent-Teacher Association, both at the local and the national level. I think that together we can assist Hispanic, Latino, and migrant and seasonal farm worker parents with their efforts to help their children succeed with their child's education in public school. Migrant and Seasonal Head Start is a special program from the Office of Head Start, a federally funded, comprehensive service early childhood education program that promotes the school readiness of young children from low-income families. This comprehensive service delivery model ensures children are ready for school and families are ready to support their children's learning. Migrant and seasonal Head Start programs are located in 38 states and serve over 32,000 children. Head Start regional programs are in all 50 states and in U.S. territories, and they are funded to serve over 900,000 children. I believe that one of the strongest components of Head Start is parent engagement. Head Start respects parents as their children's primary nurturers, teachers, and advocates. Head Start programs are required to consult with parents in establishing school readiness goals, as well as engaging parents and families in other aspects of their child's development and learning. Just as PTA has standards, and that we heard from Lisa, so does Head Start. In many aspects, PTA and Migrant Head Start share the same values, almost the same standards verbatim. One of them is the success of every child and the engagement and empowerment of families to advocate for their children. Next slide, please. Another value and standard is to ensure parents feel they are welcome and valued in both of our organizations. In order to include Hispanic, Latino, and migrant and seasonal farm worker parents in our programs, we must first understand who they are. So who are they? Where do they come from? And what are their family's culture and values? For example, where were they? Were they born in the U.S.? If so, what generation are they? Were they born in another country? If so, how long have they been there? Have they been here in the U.S.? All this type of information helps us make our environments welcoming. I believe PTA has an advantage in partnering with the public schools. With knowledge and understanding of these families, PTA can influence the environment in the public schools by helping them incorporate culture and language of these families in every environment and activities in the schools. As you know, you can obtain demographic information from the public schools, from other programs, not only from the public school, but other programs within the schools, such as migrant education and possibly Title I. There are two other programs that in the community that have great resources for demographic data on migrant and seasonal farm worker families. One of them is the local community health centers, who receive specific funding for farm worker families' health services, and of course, migrant and seasonal Head Start. Both of these community organizations conduct annual community assessment in order to provide services to this population. And that's how they learn about who our families are. So, and I'm very sure they would be very happy to assist you with that or provide you that information. As you use this demographic data, you will be able to rethink how to do outreach for these families. Elike, if you can go back to the last slide. For example, even though PTA members' dues may only be $5 or $10 per family, keep in mind that these families may have other economic needs that may not allow them to spend on other things besides the basics. Think about possible alternatives for those membership dues, such as doing fundraisers and or asking community sponsorships. Make sure you address, as you are doing outreach, make sure you address the issues of language and literacy level and do outreach in the areas where the families live. These families don't often come to the school, so therefore outreach has to be done where those families live. Also keep in mind, migrant Head Start parents may work up to 14 hours a day, 5 to 6 days per week. They may have only one vehicle for transportation and may need some assistance with child care. I think if you address some of these issues, you'll see participation on behalf of these families. And one of the other things that's really important to remember is that provide families with a clear explanation of what benefits are connected to being a member of PTA. Discuss leadership opportunities, parent projects, and student activities. All these are interesting. All these are of interest to Latino families and Hispanic families. but they must be informed of what PTA is and what is expected of them. And most of all, provide families with activities and leadership opportunities that align with their knowledge, culture, and language. Next slide, please. Head Start and PTA share another very similar value and standard in that families and school staff are equal partners in decisions that affect children and families, and together inform, influence, and create policy, practices, and programs. Actually, that code is from the PTA National Standard for Family School Partnership, which very much mirrors Head Start's. Migrant Head Start is about recognizing that parents have knowledge and skills that can augment any governing structure and system, especially those structures and systems which operate under the principle that education is shared responsibility and accountability among school community stakeholders. Migrant Head Start is about leadership. We believe parents need to be involved in education systems that are set up to guide the education of their children. I'm hearing some echo. Parents involved in Head Start policy councils are trained leaders in shared decision making. With these skills, they are able to glide into PTA or into the public school advisory council. There's a lot of static. Somebody mute their mic. Thank you. Next slide, please. As I said before, I do believe that together PTA and Migrant and Seasonal Head Start can build a strong collaboration to help parents succeed in their leadership role and as advocates of their children. So I say to PTA, you're not in this alone. There are organizations that serve Hispanic, Latino, and migrant and seasonal farm worker organizations that can partner with you to welcome and include these families into PTA. I know Migrant and Seasonal Head Start programs welcome your partnership. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Here are some ways to connect with some of the Migrant and Seasonal Head Start programs, as well as health centers. So on your graph in front of you, you'll find a locator, and it's both to locate Migrant and Seasonal Head Starts in your area and also community health centers. The other locator is to locate regional Head Start programs. And below that is my name and my email, and I would be very happy to answer any questions that you have about either Migrant Head Start or Head Start. This was an overview of Migrant and Seasonal Head Start, and as I said, I very welcome your emails and questions. Now I will turn it over to Isabel.
Isabel, before you get started, I just want to remind everyone that these are part of the handouts, including this information, and everyone's contact information. You will find it in the handouts. Thank you. Isabel.
So this is Isabel Satz, Director of Parent-School Partnerships from the Mexican-American Legal Defense and Education Funds. Take it away, Isabel.
Thank you, Guadalupe. Well, as Guadalupe said, my name is Isabel Sanz, and I'm the Parent School Partnership Director for MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, in Atlanta. I have worked directly with parents, training and teaching them how the school system works and becoming strong leaders for the past 14 years. Founded in 1968, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, MALDEF, is the nation's leading Latino legal civil rights organization. MALDEF promotes social change through advocacy, communications, community education, and litigation in the areas of education, employment, immigrant rights, and political access. The Parent School Partnership Program, also known as PSP, was established in 1989. The goal of the PSP program is to provide parents with information and guidance on how to support their child's education in order that they and all students graduate from high school and pursue their career and college dreams. navigate and negotiate the public education system by collaborating with school officials, foster parents' unity and school partnership by working with others on a school improvement project, develop leadership skills to improve schools by increasing parents' participation in school activities and committees. In essence, the PSP informs parents of their rights and responsibilities with the educational system and prepares them with the tools to become effective advocates for their children and all children. The last MALDEF evaluation confirmed that the Parent-School Partnership Program accomplishes what it sets out to do. It develops parent leaders and advocates. Our curriculum is tailored to Latinos in that it has a special emphasis on the rights of immigrant students and English learners. Our program is divided in 12 workshops, with 6 of them helping parents understand the school system. During the first 6 workshops of our program, parents will become familiar with the rights and responsibilities in the school system. They will learn how to work with teachers to improve academic attainment. They will discuss how the school and school district is structured and works, and about the steps to college. During the second portion of our program, parents are trained to be leaders. When possible, we partner with the PTA to provide parents a full understanding of parent engagement and how it impacts their child's life and the school as a whole. The PSP program has been implemented in different areas throughout the United States. As you can see in the map, the yellow is the parent, the direct services that we have provided. And we offer 2 different approaches. Direct services, where we work directly with parents and school officials, that will be the yellow dots, and the train of trainers, where we work in partnership with parent groups, community organizations, and schools. Those trained on the MALDEF curriculum can then offer parent-school partnership trainings in their community. The PSP program aligns with the PTA's National Standards for Family School Partnership. In our work with parents, we partner with the school administration, teachers, and the PTA. For the success of our program, everyone must be involved: school administration, staff, parents, and community partners. Our attempt is that all of our partners in the education achievement for children fully understand the makeup of the local community so that welcoming all families become easier. When the school administration is familiar with the community they're serving, then the communication process improves, and they look for alternative ways of outreach to parents. When communication improves, parents can more effectively support their child's education, and the parent-teacher partnership improves also. When parents understand the academic standards and their rights and responsibilities, they feel more comfortable speaking up for every child, taking leadership position, and working with other community members. Although our goal is to build parent capacity, the concept of parent engagement is an American concept. In Spanish, the word educación means more good manners and being well-spoken. It has a completely different meaning than it does in English. Teachers, for instance, in Mexico are seen as high-ranking members of society, on par with doctors, lawyers, and priests. Typically, children are taught to respect teachers and not to question them. This is similar in the older Latino generation, who wouldn't think of coming into a classroom and telling the teacher what to do or question their motives and teaching styles. Specifically, with a parent new to this country, the simple fact of sending their child to school, making sure they are well cared for, clean and healthy, means that they are engaged in their child's education. There are many definitions of what constitutes parent engagement, but it is a challenge to explain to someone from another country that is not familiar with that concept, or even our own American families who are low income, in poverty, or struggling with trying to get their basic needs met. These families also deal with the same issues. Besides MALDEF, many other nonprofits, agencies, and parent groups work within the Latino community to address this critical situation. That parents learn and understand how to navigate the school system in order that they gain voice and can advocate for their child's education. Building trust is key to improve parent participation. First, we build relationships. Families must first feel comfortable and secure. Then they will decide if they will be actively engaged or not. Be attentive to the obstacles that they may reduce, inhibit, or deter parents from being involved. For instance, it helps to provide bilingual support to promote trust. Oral and written communication needs to be available in both English and the home language. We have to keep in mind the literacy and educational differences. Can they read in English? Do they have limited reading ability? Provide flexible schedules for meetings, provide transportation and childcare, and secure translator if possible with equipment as needed. To foster commitment, it is important to provide leadership opportunities. Together with leadership development and support, offer workshop opportunities to build on parent knowledge base, skill set, and leadership ability. Additionally, offering education courses such as ESL classes, computer literacy, and citizenship classes, among others, will help parents feel a stronger bond with their community. It is very important to make parent engagement personal. Parents need to feel that their time is valued and they are doing something useful that will help their child. Make every meeting relevant and productive. Keep schedules flexible and doable, so parents don't become overwhelmed with school activities. Additionally, Latino parents might have more than one child, and it is difficult to keep up with all meetings and school activities such as parent-teacher conferences, reading and math common core workshops, and PTA meetings. Parents can become exhausted with so much information and might disengage. Partnering with school staff such as the Title I coordinator or the parent liaison can open up a door to connecting to parent engagement opportunities. These are just a few of the many strategies that you can apply to engage Latino families. And it is very important also to provide parents with facts and data on student academic success. The school's performance, graduation rates, and student access to higher education provides a better understanding of why there is a need for parents to better advocate for a quality education. For instance, in 2010, the high school dropout rate for Latino students was 15.1% higher than whites, blacks, Native Americans, and Asian Pacific Islanders in the United States. So this is our, as you can see, this is our contact information for the Parent-School Partnership Program. Thank you very much for your attention. If you wish to contact us for additional information regarding the Parent-School Partnership Program or our workshops and trainings, you can contact Adrian Sandoval at our national headquarters in LA. He's our national director, or myself at MALDE's Atlanta office. Once again, thank you, and now I pass it on to Antonio Tijerino, Presidente and CEO of Hispanic Heritage Foundation. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Isabel. I have to say it's always a privilege when I'm on any kind of panel or webinar or phone call with MALDEF and the great work that they do, and you just got a really great overview of that. And also, Lisa, I thank you for hosting, and Guadalupe, thank you for the work you're doing with Head Start. Although I do think that we need to really push for to have languages being taught in the K through 6 area, not later on. Kids are much smarter at that age than they are any other time, including when they're in the middle ages like me. So thank you everyone for having me. I'm very proud to have been a national PTA board member, and we signed an MOU with the PTA, and it's absolutely a focus for us, especially more than ever in 2016. Just in terms of a historical background, we were created in 1987 as part of the White House actually creating a Hispanic Heritage Month, commemorating it during the Reagan administration. and then we split off and became a nonprofit. And when I took over 15 years ago, we tried to focus more on the youth part of it and also parental engagement part of it instead of just kind of the leadership part. So we focus on inspiring, preparing, and connecting Latinos in the classroom, community, and the workforce, always to meet America's priorities. We feel as though we need to present a value proposition to America through the Latino community and what we have to offer. That all, of course, starts with education, vision, and the great accomplishments, and mostly the promise of our young people. That can't happen without a collaborative effort to make that become a reality. We also promote Latino culture and vision through public awareness campaigns that are seen by millions. So in the issue of parental engagement, we want to take a step back and really tap into what young people thought about it, because it makes a lot of sense to us, and especially me as a parent. I have a different point of view of it than my kids might. And so we conducted last year a national survey on parental engagement and other topics. We called it the Pulse Study, taking the pulse of the high school student in America, and we were able to compare between the different groups. And the kids were 14 to 17. It was across the country, a huge sample size. And we found, not surprisingly, that Latino students were least likely to say that they used their parents as a resource in their education to learn about paying for college and getting into college. Also, the least likely to say their parents are involved enough in their education, which I thought was very interesting. When I was a teenager, I don't know if I wanted my parents to be more involved in anything in my life, but it turns out that Latino students are actually really, there's a bond that exists between young people and their parents in the Latino community, as in many others, and they actually wanted their parents more involved. Caucasians and African American students were the most likely to say their parents are involved enough. And 40% of first-generation college-bound students reported that they wish their parents were more involved in their education, compared to only 23% of students whose parents were actually had attended college. And again, Latinos are least likely to attend college, including their parents. So students from lower income families are almost twice as likely to say they wish their parents were more involved in their education compared to students from a higher income family. And Hispanic students are the most likely to report they would like their parents to be more involved in education. A couple of bullets that I just kind of ran out of space here was that Latinos were least likely to have gone to their guidance counselor for help during their high school career, and least likely to feel encouraged to go to college by those around them. So you see more and more the role of the parent, the critical role of the parent, but we have to be able to work with the parents in order to get them more engaged, in order to get them to feel comfortable. If you didn't go to college and you feel as though maybe you feel a little self-conscious about that, maybe you don't feel comfortable talking about some of the things that the young people are learning, maybe you feel at a disadvantage. You also might feel uncomfortable that your child is already advancing beyond where you did in terms of your education. So we wanted to make sure that the parents felt very comfortable getting involved in their children's education, whether they were went to higher learning or not. You could still encourage through the great gifts that you pass on, whether it's the humility, whether it's the want, ganas, the actual feeling as though you can accomplish anything, which of course is our great promise when we come into this country as immigrants, and of course the work ethic. So we try to make sure that the parents understand that they bring value for everything that their child's going to do for the rest of their life, even if they may not have been necessarily educated at the same level. So we wanted to address the gap, and so we signed an MOU with the National PTA last summer. We also partnered with the National PTA to host the first ever Hispanic Family Engagement Symposium, which took place during the convention in Charlotte. I was very proud of this, and I give a lot of credit to to Nathan, who was the brand new executive director for National PTA, to Laura and Otha, who were kind of incoming and outgoing, and especially to the National PTA staff that helped put on an amazing effort that let's face it, I was pretty sure that if it didn't go really, really well, that it may not have a chance to be repeated. And at this point, it looks like it's going to be part of what the National PTA does. We had the White House Office of Science and Technology, the White House Initiative for Educational Excellence for Hispanics. Executive Director Alejandra Ceja came in for it. I also invited Bob Lamas, the Senior Vice President for Univision, to come in and present. And we had another panel. It was extremely successful, and we had PTA members that were lined up to ask more and more questions. We actually had to stop. The room was completely full, and there was such energy around, and this really made me get inspired and feel as though there's a lot more to do in this space, with the energy surrounding how do we get to know the Latino community better? How do we know what this demographic looks like as it's burgeoning in our communities? And again, I applaud the work of MALDEF and other groups that help you build that profile of who you're looking at in terms of a unique set of characteristics that are involved with the Latino community, but also a lot of similarities. And right now, the growth is all over the country, but especially in the South and other areas, there isn't necessarily a support system. So I'm glad we're working with someone from Atlanta here, because that's an area that is growing exponentially. It's now the 10th largest Hispanic market, but there may not necessarily be the infrastructure there. And so it's really, really critical that we also educate non-Latinos about the Latino culture, and because everyone seems to be in a position to want to help, which I really appreciate. We also added a parental engagement component to our Latinos on Fast Track programming. So for instance, with the Army, we do STEM Symposia in 15 markets, and it's to encourage Latino high school students and middle school students to go into the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math. We bring together different professionals from different companies, from ExxonMobil, from CVS, from Google, from all these different areas that represent those STEM fields, to let them know what's attainable, to talk through what the journey was, which was very similar to the kids that are out in the audience. It was very, very successful, but we decided to add a parental engagement piece. So while we're doing that, we actually have a separate room where we're talking to the parents about how to help encourage youth to get into these STEM fields, from a career standpoint, from a workforce development place, and also how to break certain cycles within a family in terms of being able to access greater careers and greater opportunity for growth and financial stability. It's been very successful. We at first we were going to do them in English, and we quickly, in certain areas, found that it really needed to be in Spanish. And the materials that we put together, a lot of them we took from amazing materials that PTA has. And again, groups like MALDEF and others, that everything seems to be out there. It's just a question of how do you create platforms to engage, and that's the part that I'm encouraged by. We also are working on a website called mecollegeoptions.org that is being built, and what we're trying to do is to have an element there for Spanish language for the parents to be able to tap into resources, to be able to feel more comfortable with what happens and how to help prepare their children to go to college in terms of savings plans and programs that exist and resources to help parents help their children reach the dream of a college education. A lot of times they just don't understand what is already existing, what resources are existing, and we want to make sure to bridge that gap, and we're trying to do that as well. We're also working with different groups. So right now we have, for instance, our Youth Award program where we identify the top Latino high school students in the country. We do them in 12 markets, including Atlanta and other places. And what we do is these kids are extremely high achieving. They're also racking up hundreds of hours in community service. They're in very specific categories in terms of what their careers are going to be. And we also honor a Teacher of the Year in each one of the markets. It came to us that we really also need to address the fact that we need parental role models, and we need to make sure that we highlight the parents that are extremely involved within their family, and then set them up so they can be a resource within each of these 12 markets, to be able to do webinars, to be able to host different get-togethers for the Latinos that are in that community. And that's something that we're doing in 2016. We're about to announce it at our National Youth Award ceremony in LA. The other part is that we shoot and post content from those parents and other parents that are involved in our program, to provide online guidance, inspiration, and to serve as role models for other parents. This is critical in terms of having that connection. In our community, my wife and I are the ones that almost serve as ambassadors for the school, for the Latino community here, to make sure that there's a comfort level in terms of going to meetings, in terms of accessing certain programs that are available for their children that they may not feel completely comfortable looking into. And I think that's a really important thing, is that activism from a grassroots level. The parents that are in a position to help other parents, it is critical that we deputize them, inform them, and get them the right talking points and the right resources to serve as ambassadors for the PTA, and also for groups, again, like MALDEF and Head Start and others. We also want to create more research on this issue of parental engagement from the parents' point of view, which is our next step that we're going to do, because we already have a pretty good idea in terms of what the children do. One of the other things that we did was found during our research access to the internet, which has been called the homework gap, and I wrote an op-ed and a blog post in Huffington Post about it. And so we're finding that Latinos are least likely to have access to the internet at home, or the technology to use the internet. And the Latinos were most likely to say that access to the internet, or lack of access to the internet, was responsible for a worse grade, and also for their parents to get involved, and also for their parents actually to have access to other things like job opportunities and other things. This is a real problem, and we're addressing it by trying to fill that homework gap through other programs. And the last thing is that we work with Saberes Poder and other groups in actually trying to work through the consulates, the Mexican, Salvadoran, and Guatemalan consulates, in certain areas where we feel there's a great need. And one of the things that we're doing is to work with these consulates in order to reach out to the parents that are there, and also to do our Code as a Second Language program, where we're teaching computer coding to students all over the country, from K through 6, and we're now in 50 schools in over 20 markets. We're now doing them at the consulate as well. And what's interesting is the amount of parents that are getting involved with this, so they could learn coding as well as the children could. So I wanted to be able to talk to you about the work that we're doing. I also wanted to make sure that I can be used as a resource, and if you have ideas for us too that you think we can do a better job, please let us know, and how we can collaborate. We are very nimble, so we're able to execute pretty quickly, and thanks to technology, it's pretty remarkable, and resources and friends. I mean, I think those are things that aren't always leveraged, that we're able to make an impact very quickly in the community. Thank you again for having me as part of this great webinar, and it's always a privilege to be a part of anything that the PTA is doing.
Thank you, Antonio. Wonderful information. Welcome back, everyone. This is Elida. And as you see, there's a tremendous amount of information and resources out there for anyone that wants to partner, collaborate, do outreach to Latino families. The handouts include all the contact information for our speakers, beginning with the National PTA Standards all the way to each of the groups. And this was part of the Every Child in Focus Leadership Events and Discussion, which we have been doing since last fall. We're continuing to do that, and the next webinars are families living in poverty, LGBT families. Those topics are coming soon. So please keep all this in mind as you continue to research through the PTA website. And as always, we only have a small time for questions. We usually have more questions than we can answer. But panelists, I'm going to read some of the questions and ask that you participate. And let me see, most of them are, will this be available because of the interest and information? They want additional information from all of the speakers. I guess we were having problems with the audio, so I apologize for that. Yes, this will be posted on YouTube. Yes, you can get a copy of this presentation. Any other questions for any of the panelists? Please use your chat box located to your right, and we can answer your questions if you have any. Any last comments, panelists? Guadalupe, Isabel, Antonio, before we, I don't see any questions. Yes, we will be posting this whole recording on YouTube for those of you that are still asking. Yes, we will.
And this is Isabel, and if questions come up tomorrow, they can always email me. I gave my email address, so I will be more than happy to answer them, or a phone call, whatever is easier.
We have a message here. Thank you so much for all you do. That's for everyone. Gracias por la información. Somebody from Carson City, Nevada. Hey, Nevada. Okay, well, I think that concludes our webinar. Again, a big thank you to our panelists. Thank you, those of you on the audience. Those of you on the north of the states, please keep warm. Stay safe out there in those icy roads. And we will talk to you again soon. Please keep your eyes open for the next webinar. Thank you and good night.